Mrs. Hines, we're ready for you now.
Okay. Good morning, Mrs. Hines. I was just looking over the file you sent me. How are you doing this morning?
Well, I'm doing okay, I guess. This is all just, kind of new, and it's a huge shock for me, and I'm not sure how it'll affect my kids and my job and stuff like that.
I completely understand, and I'm sorry that you guys are just finding out about this right now. So tell me, what do you already know about Kearn-Sayre syndrome?
Well, I don't really know too much. My doctor didn't really go into much detail with me.
So basically, it's a disorder caused by mutation in the DNA inside the mitochondria. Um, the mitochondria is like a little organelle within each cell that basically produces all the energy that the cell is going to need. And it has its own copy of DNA, and what happens is um, inside the womb, when the egg is developed, something happens while the egg is developing and the DNA isn't produced the mitochondrial DNA isn't produced as it should be. So whenever the egg is fertilized and grows into a baby, later on in life, the cells aren't able to produce the energy that it needs, so they start to weaken, and that causes muscle tissue to weaken, which is causing your drooping eye, and it's what's causing your arms and legs to feel really heavy because it's taking a lot more energy to move, and it's making them feel heavy. But here's a picture of a mitochondria, and inside it's got its own DNA, its own little set of DNA, and yeah, so basically what's going to happen over time is that weakness is going to spread to your ocular motor muscles, so basically the muscles that move your eyes. They're going to become paralyzed, and you're not going to be able to look around as you usually would be. The droopingness is going to continue. That paralysis is also going to spread down your neck and your shoulders, and it's going to become a lot harder to move your arms and legs as you once were able to. And there's also some heart conditions that can come along with it, just because it messes with the nerves and in the brain, and there's a lot of things that can accompany Kearn-Sayre syndrome. Yeah, and it's just going to get progressively worse as time goes on, and it can affect your eyes. Usually a buildup of colored pigmentation develops on the retina. The retina is like the back of the eye that helps you see. Basically, it's kind of like a little screen, and what you see is projected onto it. But a colored pigmentation builds up on there, so you're not able to see. And then it can also affect your ears as well. So deafness is something that can develop from this syndrome.
Okay, that makes sense. But how did I get it when my parents didn't get it? That doesn't really make any sense to me.
So basically, it happened in the womb as your egg was developing in your mother's womb. It didn't develop properly, and then when it was fertilized, you grew, and then the symptoms just started coming as you grew older.
Okay, I understand that. But how will my kids be affected? Will they get it?
So, unfortunately, your children will have this disorder, since it is passed down through the mother's egg. I took up the liberty of drawing a karyotype, not a karyotype, a pedigree for your family. So basically, this is you, this is your husband, and then these are your children. What that basically means is anything that's black is an infected individual, anyone that's white is an unaffected individual, and whenever it's half and half, that means they're a carrier. So your children will be affected, your daughter's children will be affected, but your son's children won't, because it is only passed on through the mother and not through the father. So I also included potential spouse and potential children for your family. Yeah, it's not the most favorable when it comes to family heritage. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, how did I not know about this sooner?
This syndrome usually presents itself around late childhood to early 20s. For some reason, your symptoms didn't start showing until you were 40, so that's why we had no indication that you had this disorder earlier.
Do you know if there's anything we can do to make this not affect my kids?
Unfortunately, there isn't really much we can do to cure it. There is no cure since it is, genetic, but we can treat the accompanying symptoms with the syndrome.
Do you know if we can test my children to see if they have it?
We could test your children, but it is a very, very big decision, and I encourage you to talk it over with your family before we actually do the testing. It's more than likely that your children are going to have the disorder, but if you want to test them just to make sure, see if something didn't happen, then that's perfectly okay. But it is a very big decision because sometimes when people know that their life is going to be affected in a major way, some people just can't, that's all they focus on, and they end up losing the will to live because it is such a big thing that's going to affect their life. But I definitely encourage you to talk it over with your husband, with anyone in your family before you bring your kids in.
Okay then. I guess I'll have to talk it over with my family. That is a big decision from what you're saying.
Okay.
Okay. I just want you guys to be well informed and know all of your options before we start going down a pathway.
So you were talking earlier about managing symptoms. How would we do that, or what would that all entail?
Well, there's not really much more that I can do for you guys. I can help counsel you and your family throughout this whole process, but I would refer you to a cardiologist, ophthalmologist, and audiologist. They would be able to help you more with the accompanying symptoms and problems that come with Kearn-Sayre syndrome more than I can. They would help you with the hearing loss, with the loss of vision, and with any heart problems that might develop.
So what treatments are there, and is this curable? What would you recommend that I do going on from this point?
So the ophthalmologist would be able to do surgery if you were to lose your vision because of the accumulation of material on your retina. He'd be able to go in and remove that, help you gain your vision back. An audiologist would help prescribe hearing aids if problems occurred with your hearing, and then the cardiologist would be able to might recommend a pacemaker. That's usually a treatment for some heart problems that usually accompany Kearn-Sayre syndrome. And then your general practitioner would be able to help you with anything else, help refer you to other doctors as problems occur. For right now, you guys are doing pretty fine. There's not too many problems that you are having right now, but there are future things that might come down the road, and I would just encourage you guys to keep an open mind, live every day like it was your last, even though it's not going to be your last, and then just take everything one step at a time. Just take everything with a grain of salt. As things come, deal with them, and you'll be perfectly fine. Okay, well, thank you for your time today. It was my pleasure. If you and your family need anything else, just call my office and we'll definitely be able to help you with anything.